Okay, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and begin, even though we don't have very many students in the room. This is going to be filmed for those that are currently in Rome and also for those that will be looking at this during advising. So welcome to all of those that are here. My name is Carrie Penabat. I'm the director of the undergraduate program. And we are essentially hosting an introduction for the elective courses that will be offered in fall 2019. The courses are a variety, some new courses, other courses that you have actually seen on the roster several times. We have a number of faculty who will be here presenting a very brief description of the course, and will stay on for any questions that those of you who are in the room might have. I will be just briefly reading through these flyers with you for those that were not able to attend. It should also be noted that the courses that you are going to be listening to are either 3-credit courses, full courses being taught throughout the course of the semester, or they are 1-credit courses or 1-credit modules, typically offered in the professional lecture series electives, and so they're offered for a third of the semester. So I'm just going to briefly walk through this. This is the first of the electives, which is a professional lecture series taught by Professor Luisa Murai. And this is a course that will focus on case studies of current building project types from time of initial formulation through completion. And they're analyzed and evaluated both here in lecture format, but also through a number of site visits. This is a course that has been offered regularly at the school. And one of the things that Luisa also requires is attendance at the Technoglass lecture series. This is a new elective that will be offered in fall 2019. And it's a course that will be open to both undergraduates and graduates, as well as real estate, those of you in the real estate program. The title of the course is Retail Placemaking. The faculty is Iman Ali. And the course provides an introduction to placemaking with a focus on retail real estate and its impact on communities. Development, architecture, and urban design are all critical elements and will be discussed in the class and evaluated also in the field. I'll just say a few more for those that are not in the room. The course will also identify leadership roles and participants in placemaking, which include developers and investors, architects and urban planners, tenants, and customers. A developer who can match the right concept with the right location can generate substantial profits. Similarly, a well-executed placemaking plan creates value for all the participants in a community. The class will investigate the science of retail leasing and designing an executive placemaking plan. This is being offered as a 1-credit module. So this next class will be a 3-credit course in design and fabrication. It will be taught by Mike Galea, a former graduate of the University of Miami School of Architecture, who's currently in practice. And I will read the brief description for you. Craft is the skill involved in making things by hand. It may also be understood as a common language that connects us to the collective skills and knowledge of those before us. By developing each our own craft, we become part of that tradition. In this course, students will develop their craft by designing and building a furniture or a casework starting from rough sawn lumber. The course will focus on a hybrid approach to woodworking that will integrate both hand tool and machine tool work. Students will be able to incorporate digital fabrication techniques into their pieces if desired, but handwork will be the focus. Throughout the course, students will produce sketches, formal drawings, maquettes, and prototypes, culminating with their final piece for presentation. You will get a suggested list of tools that will be provided, and there will also be field trips for the students to select and purchase their own lumber. Mike, as I said earlier, is a former graduate at the School of Architecture, and he has co-developed and co-founded We Rock Toy Company, and currently works as development and construction management with Turnberry Associates. Again, that will be a 3-credit class. This is also a new class for the fall 2019, and it's an introductory course to LEED with sustainability and the built environment. It's entitled The Theory, Science, and Practice of Green Building and Sustainable Development. It should be noted that this is an introductory course on the subject matter, and it's not intended for you to be ready to take the lead exam upon completion. However, Professor Burgess says that it will get you more than halfway there. And for those of you that are interested in doing that immediately following the course, he can help advise you in that effort. The brief course description is that the course will introduce students to some of the current best practices in green building design and construction, while providing you with opportunities to research both local and international examples of sustainable architecture and LEED certified projects. In addition to our classroom lectures and group discussions, the course will help prepare you to take the LEED Green Associate exam. The course will be taught by Professor Jonathan Burgess, who has taught the class one time prior as a co-taught course, but will be leading this effort in the fall. This is an elective that some of you may have seen in the past. It's been offered several times by our part-time faculty member, Professor Juan Yactayo. It's entitled Parametric Tectonics. The course is going to focus on the study and the production of facade prototypes derived from a precise parametric-based approach to design. Students will work with several media, including digital parametric software, image editing software, and fabrication tools. At the end of this 3-credit course, each student should understand the benefits of parametric tools for accurate climate analysis and iterative design explorations. As a parallel component to the course, the students will be exposed to different graphic techniques and methods of representing data. Juan Yactayo is an associate at Perkins and Will and has taught both in the elective courses and has also collaborated in a number of upper-level design studios. On that note, I think we've come to the one-page descriptions for the faculty that are here, so I'm going to turn it over to Professor Tim Norris, and Tim, you can just advance through to the next one.
Great, thank you, Carrie. It's a thrill to be here as a non-architect. I'll warn you guys, I'm a geographer by trade and cartographer. I make maps. And we've been talking about introducing this course for architecture students as not a GIS for geographers course. This is a GIS for architects course. And the whole idea is going to be to give a very brief introduction to how you can use GIS tools within your trade. And what I would like to focus on, after discussing this with several people, is what a geographic information system is and how you can use it for visualization and storytelling. Because I believe that's what it really comes down to, is the stories we tell with our data, not just how we visualize it. We're going to cover 3 fundamentals in this course on how you get data from pre-existing data sets, for example, the County of Miami-Dade, and get their data sets and use them, much like the image that you're looking at right now. How we can bring these data sets into industry standard softwares like ArcGIS or QGIS and perform basic analysis on them, not just looking at the map, but actually doing some analysis on them for reporting. And then do the third fundamental that we'll cover is how we can export this data into other programs. So as a cartographer, I almost never finish my drawing in ArcMap. I finish my drawing in Illustrator or in Photoshop. So it's all about getting the data out of the data management program, the GIS program, and into a finishing program. So we're going to look at how to get things into the Adobe suite and into the Autodesk suite so they can be picked up and used for your final drawings. And then finally, what I want to say about this course is we're going to focus on making this applied. I am not going to bring in prepared materials. I am expecting the students to bring in projects, and we will help them. And the whole idea behind this is there's many resources on campus that are available to students interested in GIS, and part of it will be to introduce you to where you can go to get further help once you've finished this 1-credit module as an elective. So with that said, I guess we're on to Victor Santana. Not here. Do you want me to read this, or do you want I look forward to working with architects, by the way.
Thank you.
Very excited.
Okay, so Victor Santana is not present. This is a course that is run through, well, it's offered to all of our students, and we have undergraduates as well as graduates, students from the real estate program as well as the new construction management program. And I'll just say the first few lines, those of you that are in the room can read it yourself, but essentially it's real estate development is a collaborative multidisciplinary effort in which a group of professionals contribute their expertise to a project in a time-sensitive environment. I guess the course focusing on 5 major development types: land, multifamily, office, industrial, and retail. Students will be introduced to the stages of development and the life cycle of a project. Due to the complexities of acquisitions, entitlements, financing, regulations, market fluctuations, and construction variances, the management of development projects has become a science, and as a result, cost and time estimating tools have been established to assist in resource management and in the execution of projects. So students are going to be developing, the class is structured with a number of lectures as well as project focus analysis, where you will be able to take the lessons from the lectures and apply them to a variety of project types. We have with us Professor Stephen Brooks that's going to introduce architectural photography and composition.
Architectural photography and composition is a course that is unique in the country. There is no class quite like this one. And primarily, it's because in this class of architectural photography, we look back on 500-600 years of the history of architectural depiction and study the work of Vermeer, De Hooch, Sanradam, and contemporary masters like de Chirico and Edward Hopper, to see the paradigms for composition that were used in depicting architecture by genuine masters. And we use those techniques to inform our architectural photography. I've been doing this work for over 35 years and have over 40 books to my credit. I mention that because the camera and Photoshop and software techniques that we will use are exactly the same ones that I use for my work, which means that if you put the time in and are conscientious, I guarantee you will produce work that is at or near the quality of most professional architectural photographers working. In fact, a number of my students have gotten jobs based on their portfolio for architectural photography. These classes fill up quickly. I can take 12 students. We sometimes can do 15, but let me just say, you can read some of the comments of my students. Let me say that if you are looking for a class that will give you compositional skills that you will use on everything else you do for the rest of your life, this is your class. My email address is up there. It's stephen@stephenbrook.com. If you have questions, you can email me, okay?
Okay. So the next course, Thinking Lines, Drawing Thoughts, will be taught by Professor Gonzalo Fuenmayor, who has a master's in fine arts and is an artist that is currently practicing in the city, and I think is part of the new young generation of artists that are making a broad impact. It is currently in the curriculum as a way of offering a kind of broad exposure, at least in the world of drawing, not only to the latest advances in digital techniques, but also to the relevance and importance of the most fundamental of acts, which is drawing by hand. So the focus of this course is to teach students skills to successfully develop and communicate thought processes. We will start exploring the line as a mode of expression and carrier of meaning. Through the line, students will be guided through didactic and challenging exercises, exploring eye-hand coordination, gesture, space, and composition. A wide range of drawing methods will be covered, allowing students to experiment and incorporate traditional and non-traditional approaches. subject matter will alternate between figurative and still life. We will draw outside and inside the classroom, shift from dry to wet medium, as well as vary the size and scale of drawings. The course will focus on each student's personal development with the sole purpose of enriching their own creative explorations. This will be a 3-credit course. The next course, Virtual Design and Construction, BIM. So we'll be focusing on BIM modeling. It will be taught by Professor Adam Demler. The course examines the foundations of virtual design and construction through the development and use of a Revit building information model. Students will be introduced to a variety of Revit modeling strategies and practices, as well as industry standards such as level of development. Students will use the Thomas P. Murphy Design Studio building as a focus of their BIM development. Other VDC practices will also be reviewed to prepare students for 21st century practices. Okay, and I will turn it over to Professor Jeff Bass, who will be presenting Advocacy for Architects, which is actually a 1-credit module in our professional practice series.
Thank you. Not an architect. I'm a lawyer, and this is a course really that has evolved over time. All great buildings that you've ever seen share one thing in common. They've been approved by government. This course teaches you how to think about, talk about, and write about your design in a way that would help government approve it. It's really a course that I can't put a title on it. This is just a placeholder. I welcome thoughts because we cover so many different things, but the common theme is how to improve your skills to advocate for the approval of your design before whatever body it may be. It may be a loan committee, it may be the investment committee, it may be the City of Miami, it may be Miami-Dade County, it may be the City of Miami Beach Design Review Board. One thing that the course has shifted towards is narrative prose. No offense, I have found a great gap in the training of architects and their ability to write sentences that describe their design. I am intrigued by this. I cannot draw or think in terms of space and dimension at all, and I have found that architects have a hard time thinking and seeing on a page words that describe their drawings. So one of the things that we do is have you prepare a mock application for approval from the City of Miami Beach Design Review Board, have you work with the design review standards that govern approval of projects, have you watch hearings, and then have you present your design to me as if I were the design review board, and then I moot you and vet you and offer creative suggestions, hopefully helpful, constructive criticism to optimize your advocacy skills. One of the things that we spend a good amount of time on, this has taken a greater role in the course, is writing a letter of intent. A letter of intent is the narrative piece that chaperones your design. And at the end of the day, my goal in this course is to help make you useful. We talk about some of the legal doctrines that limit government's ability to regulate design and give you an underpinning of the mechanics of the governmental approval process. We have a ton of fun. Here we watch some of the great architects in this community present their projects for approval. Most of these hearings, public hearings, are presented, and you'll see the excerpts there. We worked on a case with Professor George Hernandez, and those are pictures taken as Professor Hernandez by hand redrew a project on the floor of the City of Coral Gables Commission to get the approval of the Paseo de la Riviera, which you see going up across the street on the former Holiday Inn site. One thing that I would like to emphasize is because the course is so focused on writing, that if you struggle with the English language, this course could present a real challenge. So we've seen some students for whom English is not their first language struggle on this, and I just want to say I welcome everybody, and you'll certainly do better, but if English is something you struggle with, please see me before you sign up. So I could stay here all day listening to all these courses. I was just telling Professor Schulman I'd like to sign up for about 4 of them. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'm easy to find, and enjoy your time. This is a very special time for all of you.
So next presenter will be Professor Jaime Correa.
Literacy is the foundation of any civil society, and yet most people are visually illiterate, unable to decode nonverbal messages and urban clues. My seminar has a long history in the School of Architecture. It's a seminar which everyone interested in cities has taken at one point or another in their careers, and it's also a truly transformational experience. However, this year, I want to try something new. I've been noticing that millennials have shorter class concentration spans than their predecessors, and as part of the new creative class, millennials place more importance on experience, on the emotional connection with places than on abstract theories. So this year I will reverse the course of my method by placing more emphasis on field trips and on the direct experience of cities than on class lectures. This direct experience, this emotional attachment to the image of the city, will be tested and evaluated back in the classroom through lectures, class exercises, and with invited guests and experts who will discuss and enlighten us on issues of paramount importance. This semester is short because I will be the faculty in residence at the School of Architecture Rome program during the second half of the semester, and it promises to be an amazing learning experience. If you're interested, please register and let me have an opportunity to challenge what you think you know and to discuss as a team what I consider to be new potentials for universal happiness, or for what Michael Beirut, and I'm just paraphrasing, called the world that God never made, which is the world of cities and urbanism. Thank you.
So the next presentation will be made by Professor Denis Hector. He will be presenting a new elective that will be offered in the fall.
It's actually an old one.
Oh.
It's okay, I can.
So it's an old one, but it hasn't been around for a while, so technically it's new.
Thank you, Karen. Structural design theory, models, and prototypes. In this course, we're going to look at a series of special structures and how they are made and how they behave, what it takes to make them up. We're going to research structures, build physical and digital models and prototypes to understand what they are and how they behave. Students will be able to choose the subject of the case study. That means that you can look at things that you're interested in, and we collectively, with your work and the work of the other students in the seminar studio, are going to be able to pick apart how they work, to understand their limits, what you can do with them, and understand their possibilities. We're going to be working in contract with a number of design firms, Burrow Happold, Arups, FTL Design Engineering, Pavilions, and several others. And I would say, if this is, of course, for anyone who has looked at structures in a magazine or online and said, how the heck does that work? What can I do that? Or how do they do that? And so what we will do is pick it apart and understand it, and you can do it on your own and figure it out. So if that interests you, it doesn't require significant previous structural capacities. What it requires is an interest and a willingness to question how things work and test those assumptions with the kinds of physical models and software that we will use. Thanks very much.
Our next elective will be presented by Professor Victor Doopy. This is a course that has been taught historically at the school for quite some time and is offered across all of the programs.
Thank you. I wish I could say that I'm not an architect. The best I can say is that I'm not a real architect. I'm a teacher and historian. This course, The History of Cities, is a transnational, transcultural exploration of cities from the settlements, really human settlements, from the very beginning of time up until the early 20th century. And I say up until the 20th century because in the spring there's a course that looks at the modern city of the 20th century in its entirety by Professor Lejeune. So the two are, in a way, complementary. So the course is transnational and transcultural. It looks at all civilization, well, not all, but as many civilizations as possible in the ancient world, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance and early modern period, and covers everything from Asia, the Middle East, Europe, to the Americas. I don't think we look at the Arctic poles. I think that's the only sphere we don't consider. The course is largely run online with, if not weekly, modular assignments, discussion forums, papers, and 2 exams. 2 papers and 2 exams. Last year we took a field trip to the moon, which was really exciting. And this year we're thinking of going to the International Space Station to see how people inhabit outer space settlements. Hope you can join us.
The next course will be presented by Professor Frank Martinez, and like the History of Cities, it is offered under our history electives.
Thank you, Carrie. So 18th and 19th century American architecture and architects is, in fact, about selected topics on early American architecture. As was said earlier, it fulfills a history elective. It also works for, if you're seeking historic preservation certificate, it certainly is a good one for that as well. We cover a wide range of topics, basically beginning with the early settlements in the US primarily, looking at, in fact, what becomes vernacular architecture and looking across the US then to understand the influences from the different colonies that were started coming from Europe and so forth. We traditionally make a trip, 1 or 2 trips. The big one is normally to Boston, where again we're able to look at a good range from some of the one of the earliest houses in America to the work of Charles Bulfinch, for example, one of the great American architects. And then just to finish on that thought, in a sense, we'll go from American vernacular to the work of architects such as Thomas Jefferson, to Charles Bulfinch, to eventually great architects like Louis Sullivan and Frank Lloyd Wright. So, hope to see some of you in the course. Thank you.
This will be our last presentation. We'll have Professor Sonia Chow that will be presenting her elective for the fall semester.
Good afternoon to all of you here in the hall and to the students in Rome. Tanti saluti alla piccola famiglia. This course, entitled An Introduction to Resilient Building and Community Design, is intended to introduce students to the topic of how climate change is in fact impacting the professions of architecture and urban design, and how that intersection is being looked at through a broader context, and how we need to really intersect with different disciplines at this point to really arrive at more attuned responses in the way that we design our buildings and our cities. So throughout the course, we will be, in fact, working with other specialists from other disciplines. We will be looking at Miami Beach as our case study site, and we will be traveling to Miami Beach on a couple of occasions to work with those specialists in situ, and in the end, coming up with recommendations for the city of Miami Beach to look at specific neighborhoods and how they could better design their cities. This course will be meeting once a week on Wednesdays for a couple of hours, and the rest of the time will be, in fact, in the field. If you have any questions, feel free to meet me at the end. Thank you.
So we have come to the end of the presentations. The presentations will be available by way of a link on our website as of tomorrow, I believe. So for those of you who were not here, you'll be able to get that. Advising also begins today, and both Anna and Denis have more elaborate information if you have questions about scheduling or times. We also have a number of the faculty that attended today, so this is the best time for you to ask any questions that you might have about the particular offerings. Thank you again, and enjoy the rest of your day.